You balanced exposure, you fixed your white balance, your scopes look clean, but something still feels off. Here's why. And it's a problem that global color correction can't fix. It has to do with variance in color and exposure in any given frame of video. If you're new here, then welcome. I'm so glad you are here. My name is Adrienne and I make tutorials on video editing. And now, y'all, let's get into it. The first problem that I'm going to show you is when the rest of your frame is exposed and corrected the way that you want it to be, and yet the skin tone of your actor still feels a little bit off. There is another way that you can adjust skin tones using HSL secondary. As you can see here, I have a clip on my timeline and I am already in the color workspace in Premiere Pro. I have Vector Scope YUV open on the left, and on the right I have my Lumetri color panel open and the HSL secondary tab open and ready to go. We are going to be adjusting this woman's skin tone a little bit to make it a touch warmer and more accurate. If you come down to Key and Set Color, pick this eyedropper here, click it, come over and select a spot of her skin color. You can see that nothing happened in the program monitor. In order to see your selection, you need to come back over to HSL secondary and check color gray. That will show you the colors or the hues that you have selected in your program monitor. If you come back up to set color and go over to the eyedropper with the plus, we can click some of these areas that we know need to be selected on her skin in order to get a more complete selection. You can also come down here to H for hue, S for saturation, and L for luma, and adjust these while watching the program monitor to see if you can capture a little bit more of her skin tone without grabbing too much of the background. I think that looks pretty good. Now, if we come over here and look at our Vector Scope YUV scope, you can see this bit of lightness is the selection we've made, and it is sitting just to the right of the skin tone line. If we come over to HSL secondary and scroll down to correction, and look at our scope, we can see we need to move in the direction of yellow. So I'm going to click on the crosshairs here in the center of the color wheel and move towards yellow until our selection is sitting on top of the skin tone line. Now I'm going to come over to HSL secondary and I am going to uncheck color gray. Don't worry, this did not change our selection or delete it in any way. You can see it's still there. It's just not visible in the program monitor any longer. Now let me show you the before and the after. She's a little bit warmer, a little less cool, and therefore pops out of the background a little bit more effectively. Now let's address a concern that you may have where you have an actor in a room, maybe looking out a window. And so your exposure within that frame is drastically different. You have inside exposure, but then you also have sunlight coming from a window. Let's take a look at how you can address that. As you can see, I have another clip open. It is a young woman sitting in a train looking out the window. If we look over here, I have opened up Vector Scope YUV, and so we can see the exposure out the window here, and then we can see the exposure of the young woman here. Now we know that generally we want people's faces to be exposed a little bit brighter than this. She is already below 50. And we want to get her up no higher than 70, in between 60 and 70 here on our scopes. So we are going to accomplish this by using a mask. If we come over to Effect Controls, I want to click Lumetri Color because that's where I want the mask to live. This is not an opacity mask. Then I'm going to come down to the toolbar and I'm going to select the Pen Mask tool. I can raise this up a little higher so you can see. Here it is, the Pen Mask tool, because I want to draw my own shape. If I come back over to Lumetri Scopes, I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to go around her face. I'm leaving out her hair and her shirt because it is just her face that I want to be able to get more detail out of here. Now that I have that selection made, I'm going to come over to my Lumetri color panel, and underneath basic correction, I am going to come down to the exposure tab and I'm going to raise it up just a touch. As you can see, already in Waveform Luma, we're getting our highlights up close to 60. Let's raise it up just a little bit more. All right, it looks like we're just starting to hit the 70 there. And so I want to see what this looks like without the mask. I don't want to delete the mask, but I am going to go over to Effect Controls and just unselect. So we can see she has brightened up quite a bit. We can see much more of her face and her expression, but the line around that mask is pretty harsh. So I am going to come over and feather. I'm going to feather that mask until it completely blends into her hairline, as well as into the curtain here around the edge of the window. The last situation that you may run into is a situation of mixed lighting. So that's where maybe you have a computer screen mixed with tungsten lights, or maybe you have tungsten lights mixed with sun coming in a window. And so a person looks like they are two different colors. Let's take a look and see how we can adjust for this. For this scenario for mixed color, you can see I have some footage of a gamer here, and we have two different skin colors happening on her face. We've got some purple up here, some blue down here, and then this starts getting into a little bit closer to what her real skin tone probably looks like. What we're going to do is use HSL secondary again in order to correct some of this intense purple and this intense blue and just bring that down a little bit. Again, we will come over to HSL secondary, select that eyedropper tool and select some of the purple up here on her face. Again, we don't see our selection. Come down to color gray and check it. You can see we have most of what we want already, but I'm going to use the Eyedropper Plus tool. Select a little bit more of her chin. I'm going to do that one more time. Make sure we get just as much as we can. If we look over at VectorScope YUV, her skin tone line is pointing all the way over here in between blue and magenta, and we want to see if we can get that just a little closer. I don't think we're going to be able to pull it all the way over to the skin tone line. That's pretty unrealistic, but let's see if we can tone down that color just a little bit. Come down to the color correction tab and your color wheel here and select those crosshairs, and let's see what we can do about pulling it closer. I think that might be a little too far. I'm not going to have it hover all the way. I think that will look pretty unnatural. But if I leave it here, you can see the change that has happened in my scope is that the selection is now at least touching the skin tone line, which will make it look more natural. Let's go over and uncheck color gray, and we can see that she looks a lot more like natural skin colors. She's not so intensely purple and blue. Let me turn HSL secondary off and then on again. And so we're into slightly more native skin tones here. And that's it from me. In this tutorial, we covered 3 problems that you may encounter while editing projects and how to solve for them, primarily using masks and HSL secondary. If you are interested in the foundational steps of color correction before you ever get into things like masks and HSL secondary, it's a process where you address white balance, dynamic range, and skin tones, and then saturation, in that order, every time. I do have a workshop that teaches those steps. It's called Fix the Color First, and it's linked in the description box below. Next week, I'm going to show you the exact mask shapes that I use in like 90% of my targeted color correction. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that tutorial. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.